Whoa, jingle! Happy time has just begun. Brother, sister, smart, dumb, fun. Yeah!
Sorry, we're running late. We got to talking about Detroit because apparently I picked a very sketchy neighborhood to stay in when I go do the marathon in October. Oops.
And Jenny's like, over here. And I was like, oh. And then she said another landmark. And I was like, oh, Jenny, you can't stay there. And I love Detroit.
I'm not as savvy when it comes to Detroit as my sister, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it all turns out. I might have to. You know what I'm gonna have to do? I'm gonna have to go scouting. I have to go scout because I have a lot of time before I have to, because I can actually cancel my reservation if I need to. But so yeah, so that's what we were talking about. That's why we're running late today, because I'm like looking at my map. I'm like, no.
Oh wait, it's
problem
4 minutes
is that you do something like this, and you're like, hey, I'm Verbo, so yay. So we'll see how it all turns out. Okay, we'll keep you posted. So yeah, that's what we're up to. I don't know. Happy Sunday, everybody. It's very spring-like today, a little bit cloudy. Yesterday was really, really beautiful. So beautiful day in Michigan. Kalamazoo, Michigan is in a very celebratory mood, and I will talk about that a little bit later. But yes, it is. Yeah. So Anne, the great Moustachio came back today.
He did.
And I have to admit something. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
I put food out.
You're gonna have 5
I'm
cats
dumb.
there. By July,
like,
Jenny's gonna have 5 cats living in her house.
Yeah, we're literally gonna have all of the cats living in our house, but I apologize to no one at no point at any time. So there.
He sounds, it's funny because we have this last summer we saw her and we thought she was a stray. We called her Domino. She was a black and white kitty. She had this big black dot on her white flank. So we called her Domino. So we took her into the Humane Society. Turned out she was chipped, lives in the neighborhood. She just goes about as she pleases. So the other day I was working in the yard and there's Domino trotting across the yard, hunting stuff. She's so cute and tiny. And I was like, you kitty. And she's like, oh, hi, how you doing? So I was petting her and then she went off to murder something. So she's still around.
And well, we here's the kicker. So we saw this cat, and I'm looking for a picture right now. So give me 2 seconds here.
Sure.
So that I can bring this picture up, because I there's something about this cat. As soon as I saw him, as soon as you couldn't help but like it. You're like, look at this cute little guy. So
I've seen him.
Give me a second while I'm
Mm-hmm.
I need an overlay here. There we go. Add overlay. And there he is. All right. So he's not very big. He's maybe 6 months old. Anyway, this is him. This is this is our cat, the great Meowsalini. So yeah, he brought his mom. Did I tell you that?
No.
Yeah, so he came into the yard yesterday and he just kind of starts plunking around, and I kind of peek my head out, and Betty has spotted him, but she doesn't leave the porch.
Mm-hmm.
And he, so he's just kind of like looking at us, and we're looking at him, and he's looking at us, and then he goes back and he finds the little, sniffs and pees, and then finds the little hole under the fence, and off he goes. And so I don't know, I was doing something in the bedroom. I think it was dusting. And I had the bedroom windows open, and I'm dusting, and I look out, and he's back with this big black cat next to him, and he's like jumping around her, and then she swats at him like, "Oh my gosh, it's his mom!" So
what did you want to show me? Why are we here?
Exactly. I'm like, no, Mom, I want to show you this place. It's really great. There's this yard, and then there's this people, and there's this white cat that I don't know. I just kind of want to be your friend. So they hung out along the back fence. I don't know, probably for about, half hour they hung out there, and maybe 45 minutes, and they kind of lounged and slept, and yeah. So anyway, the great Meowsalini. Yeah,
there you go, Jenny. There you go. Cats.
Cats, I know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but between my parents' cats moving in and the cats we currently have, we're literally going to have all the cats. And then we've got another stray that's been coming around, this little gray kitty, about the same size, little fuzzy gray kitty. So I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, Jenny Brothers. You guys need more coyotes.
Likely accurate.
Oh man.
So yeah, happy Sunday, everybody. Wait, I gotta close all these other tabs I have. I have too many tabs open on my computer. Nothing good will come of that. So,
Nothing good.
uh,
Nothing good at all.
well, we are talking about Sunrise on the Reaping. We are doing a book review today for all you book nerds out there. We're back with a book
Mhm.
review. This was a much anticipated prequel um, by Suzanne Collins, who is the author of the Hunger Games trilogy. She's written two books beyond that. The first was the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and this is the next one, the Sunrise on the Reaping. We'll talk about it more in a second. But Anne, should we do our intro?
Let's do our intro, Jenny Brothers.
All
That
right,
sounds
let's
like a
bring
good
that
idea.
on.
Mhm.
Yes, I think it's a fantastic idea. I got to take out my banner there. Take that off of there. Let's go. Hit it, Ann Brothers.
Oh, all right. So we are Ann and Janice Brothers, and we would like to welcome you or welcome you back. We are sisters, and our last name is Brothers, and we don't come with tariffs. So
I know.
we're a
0%
deal.
tariffs, y'all.
Yeah, exactly. 0%, just like Russia. Anyway, we're in our 50s, which means that we're Gen X, and which also means we were born at a time where no children were planned. So everybody was an unplanned child.
Hey, Ann,
Mhm.
do you remember when Russia was bad?
Yes, I do. I remember because it was the
Ooh,
80s, and we were all afraid
yes.
that Russia was going to start a nuclear war, and they were the worst, and they
Yes,
were
and that was like
communists.
it was the go-to enemy in all of the action movies of the 80s. And there were a bunch of action movies in the
Hmm.
80s. Thank you, Rambo. We're talking to you.
Hmm.
And it was all bad Russians.
It was
So,
all bad Russians. It was like they were
yeah,
practically, they were almost as bad as Nazis. Not quite, but almost.
almost.
Hmm.
And the baddest of them all was, of course, Ivan Drago from Rocky 4. So,
Exactly. I will break you. Yeah.
I was
So,
break you. If he dies, he dies. Sorry.
so anyway, yeah, no tariffs. We were unplanned, as
Mm,
everybody in our generation was unplanned. It's not like they didn't have
totes.
the pill or anything. We just, it's like whatever.
That's what you did. You got married and you had kids. That's what
You
you
had
do,
kids.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we talk about smart stuff, dumb stuff, fun stuff, or any combination of the three. We are not cool, hip, or sexy, as we just proved this because we know this because we would like to tell you about the cute thing our cat did. And we just spent 20 minutes talking about a cute thing that somebody else's cat did. So there you
Correct.
go.
That is
If we were cool,
correct.
hip, or
So,
sexy, we would not do that. But
no.
that's never going to happen. We're not a true crime celebrity or influencer podcast. In fact, I've been listening to My Favorite Murders because I needed something mindless to listen to while I was in my garden. And I got to say, Jenny, we are smarter and funnier than those bitches. Way smarter, way funnier. I'm like,
Thanks,
how
guys.
did this show get so popular? And I'm like, ugh. Of course, I can't stop listening to it because it's complete trash. Anyway, good job, ladies.
Do
Um,
not underestimate the pull power of trash.
Oh man, you can't at all. We've
Mm-mm.
been told we're good to listen to when you want to learn things about stuff, or because it's spring is finally in the air and you need something to do while you put off your outdoor projects. We're there for you. This
I know.
podcast is. Mhm.
I was just gonna say I went out and did just a tiny bit of yard work yesterday. Basically, I picked up garbage. I pulled out two full, ginormous garbage bags full of garbage out of my yard, because if you live in Northside in Kalamazoo, it means you have garbage in your yard. It's awesome. And this is my favorite part. The city of Kalamazoo, they do garbage enforcement, which basically says if you have garbage in your yard, they'll cite you. But what they forget to tell you is that it's not your garbage. So
Exactly. I was like, you're not the one putting the garbage out.
that is correct. It is whoever parked by my house last night playing their music as loud as they could at 4 o'clock in the morning and throwing their garbage out of their window into my yard. Yes,
Yeah.
queen.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, it's that time of year where I spend a lot of time picking up garbage and sweeping glass off of my sidewalk. So, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this
Sorry.
podcast is not GPG or even PG-13, and we're going to do a review of a book today, and there will be some fucking spoilers, just so you
Hmm.
know. So if you haven't read
Yes.
this yet, or you're waiting to read it, you might want to wait to watch this until after you've read the book. We'll
Then you
see.
can agree with everything that we say. Everything.
Join us on our website, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. Like us, follow us. You've got to review us, people. Hit the bell, all that good stuff. Give us your
Smash that button.
Give us your feedback with our questions and answers and our polls, and you can ask the AI ladies of the world to play our podcast, and they will do it.
I wonder if we could just have AI do our podcast for us. Be
Hmm.
like, Chat GPT, make us a podcast about us doing the thing, and then all we have to do is sit here and do this.
Oh, I
Mm,
agree. Oh, I don't disagree. Oh, AI is so smart. Who's
it
the
is.
new Secretary of Education?
Oh, Linda McMahon.
Yeah, I guess she was at speaking someplace and she kept calling AI A1.
Yeah, I listened to that, and I got to tell you, it made me sweat. It made me sweat because she was talking with such assurance. I mean, she was like so confident in what she was saying, and I'm like, ooh, fuck me. Yeah, for so many reasons. It's
The unearned confidence of a white man, only in a white woman.
in a white woman who yeah. Uh, sorry, I'm having a I'm having a baby meltdown right now inside
Yeah,
my
it was like
mind.
panic attacks, just smile, panic. Anyway, I heard that today and I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, really?
Mhm.
Come on, girl. You try?
Yeah, it was
Just
a
try
little
a
bit
little? Well,
lighter.
and as an educator, it's really hard. I've given up on talking about how there are standards. I just teach. I don't lecture about, the real world, none of that, because it's like so nonsensical. I'm like, there's nothing that I can say that's going to convince you that you have to be qualified to do anything because you don't.
It seems as though you do not. So,
Really, I'm like, honestly, we have a government full of people that are completely unqualified to do anything in their job, and nobody seems to give a shit.
nope.
I just, for the record, I do.
Yeah, me too,
I
but
care.
what do
Yeah,
I know?
it's just the strangest thing to be an educator. I don't know.
I don't know what to tell you. Let's talk
There's
about our
nothing to
book,
say.
Jenny.
Good idea. Oh my God. Yeah, we could talk about that forever.
Yeah.
Again, you guys, come listen to us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. It costs you nothing to support us yet. Well, once we do apply our tariffs, look out.
Yeah.
145% tariffs. But put the word out. We would love it if you just, sharing is caring. And, like I said, we have a lot of fun, good entertainment values. Come hang out with us. We want you to. It'll be awesome.
Mhm.
Let's talk about our smart, dumb, fun stuff this week. I'm going to start with mine, Anne, because I think yours is way cooler, and we should end with that. So, okay, we'll start with the fun thing. The fun thing is that the Western Michigan University hockey team, which is located right here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, won the national championship in hockey last night, which is a big deal. Western Michigan does not produce a lot of national championships. Most of the little tiny state colleges here, Eastern, Western, Central, Northern, don't really produce a lot in the way of national champions. So it's a really big deal. This is Division One hockey. This is, they beat Boston University last night 6-2, and took their first ever hockey championship and only the second national championship ever for Western. They won a cross country national championship in 1965. So this is a good one. So that was the fun thing. The dumb thing was every bit of bullshit that happened after, which was basically a lot of couches on fire. Lot of couches on fire. There was it was pretty festive. Joe and I went out for a beer after he got done with his lifeguard training yesterday, and we did manage to find a bar that didn't have any TVs, so we could actually get in there and have some dinner and have a drink. But every other place was just packed. It was swarming with folks last night, and as a result of that, there was some violence last night that happened. That was super unfortunate. You wish people could celebrate and not be fucking assholes in the process, but you know, that's not the case. So that was the dumb thing. So yay, Western, boo, Kalamazoo, do better. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, Ann Brothers, it's your turn.
Well, today I did a smart fun thing that had nothing to do with sporting, but I met my friend Amy at Detroit History Club in Hamtramck, which is a city that is surrounded by Detroit, and we went to an author talk at Dr. Felicia George. She got her doctorate. Her thesis was this book, When Detroit Played the Numbers. And I was super excited. And she was an excellent speaker. She's a professor at Wayne State. So this was, and I bought her book earlier because I wanted her to have her sign it. And she did. So I have an autographed copy now. And then they also gave us bookmarks with the stuff on it. So anyway, I'm super excited to read this. But here's the cool thing. I'm a member of Detroit History Club, and their author talks are only $15. So my friend Amy and I met for lunch. Then we went to the author talk, and what the members that go and actually go to the live presentation, the money that we spend for that goes to so that other high schools in the area can watch the video feed live for free. So
That's
we
awesome.
support this. So there was a bunch of kids from like Detroit high schools who had questions afterwards, and they,
Oh, fun.
and it was really awesome. And I was like, I didn't know that until today. So I'm like, I'm going to try to go to at least one author talk at least a month or at least every 6 weeks or so that I can support that program, because I think that's awesome. So all these kids, so teachers could use this as curriculum. And I thought that was a great idea. So Dr. Felicia George was excellent. I can't wait to read her book. She just gave a really good talk about how this one woman brought numbers, this one in the 30s, how she brought the numbers racket to a total halt for a while, why it was so successful, how Detroit's was different from other parts in the country, how the state started to legalize it so they could make the money. Because in like 1935, if you were running the numbers, you could make $10,000 a day. And that's not
That's a
adjusted.
shitload of money.
And that's not adjusted. That's $10,000 a day, 1935. So you adjust that for now. It's like, yeah, it's crazy money. So I can't wait to read this when I get back from my vacation. This is at the top of my list. It was great to have a Michigan author talking about Michigan stuff. And the Detroit History Club is actually an old funeral home that they use as their headquarters. So it's such a cool place. And then if you want to listen to a great podcast that we did with Bailey Sisoy Moore, who is the president of the Detroit History Club, then you could go back into our archives and listen to her. She's fabulous, like fourth generation.
Such a great speaker.
Yeah, fourth generation Detroiter. And so it was just really nice to be there and to be in this place with all this history. We had Yemenis food for lunch because Hamtramck has a lot of Middle Eastern influence now. And so we had delicious food. It was a great day, and I really enjoyed it. It was smart and it was fun. And guess what? I have another book.
I love that. Hey, and I was going to ask you where you had lunch because that's a super important thing to know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. We
where
went to
did you
this
eat?
Remains. It's a Yemenis restaurant right on Joseph Campo, and they do a beautiful job. We've eaten there, I think, once, Jenny, when we did one of the food tours. I think we ate there once with them.
Oh,
Mhm,
light bulb. Okay. Yeah, cool. Cool,
mhm.
cool,
So we
cool.
went back there, and so we had lunch there, and then I went back after the talk and got carry out so Duncan and I could have dinner from there too.
Nicely done.
Yes. So it was
That's
awesome.
advanced. That's advanced touristing, and brothers. Well
Yeah,
done. So I
exactly.
love it.
So it was a good day. The weather was nice. I just felt smarter. I got smart. Jenny, when I left there, I was smarter. So
Yay! I love it.
mhm,
I love it when I get smarter instead of dumber.
mhm,
And it feels like right now it's easy to get dumber than smarter. So well
yeah,
done.
yeah.
Well done. Shall we continue?
Let us please continue.
Okay, good. Let us continue. All right, let's talk about this book. We are specifically talking about the book Sunrise on the Reaping, and we are doing this is a 10 questions format. There will be spoilers. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Okay, I feel like we have said spoiler alert enough. All right,
Mhm.
good. Here we go. All right. Anne, do you want to do the synopsis or would you like me to do the
You go ahead and do the
synopsis?
synopsis.
Okay, so this is Suzanne Collins' fifth book in the Hunger Games series. She wrote the original Hunger Games, so you had Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay, which is the story of Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games. Um, it's basically her. The first book is about her volunteering for her sister to be in the games. We learn what the games are. We learn what Panem is. We are in this dystopian future where there's no North America to speak of. There's simply this place called Panem, which is essentially North America, split into 12 districts. These 12 districts, at one point in their history, arose against the capital. They had a civil war. Um, the Hunger Games starts in year 74 of the Hunger Games. So it's been 74 years since the Capitol put down this revolution. And as punishment, the districts are required to choose by lottery 2 tributes that go to the Capitol and compete in these games where they fight to the death. And whoever wins gets to A, live, and B, gets to go back to their district where they are set for life. They get a house, they get money, they never have to work again. So we follow Katniss Everdeen's story throughout those 3 books, and her mentor is a man by the name of Hamish Abernathy. They are mentored by those who they're victors. So once you win the Hunger Games, you become a victor, and then you're required to mentor the next year's tributes. That's what they're referred to. And so we meet Hamish Abernathy, who is Katniss and Peeta. That's the male tribute that's chosen in Katniss's games. We meet him. He's a drunk. He is angry. He's sad. He's all of these things. Um, we also meet President Snow in the Hunger Games. He is essentially the leader of the Capitol. He's a dictator. He puts the dick in dictator. So the book that she wrote after the Hunger Games trilogy was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and we learn President Snow's origin story. So in Sunrise on the Reaping, we essentially learn Hamish's origin story. So the protagonist of this book is Hamish Abernathy. And again, he's, like you said, Anne, he's isolated, he's broken, he's an alcoholic. He's been forced to mentor, and he won his games essentially 25 years before, 24 years before we meet Katniss and Peeta. He competed in the 50th annual Hunger Games. He won, so he, of course, has been forced to mentor all of these tributes. District 12 is not known as being a particularly prolific district in the Hunger Games. They've only had 2 prior to Katniss. They had only had 2 victors. Hamish was the second of the 2 victors. So in this story, we meet him on his 16th birthday. So we are seeing him right before he is reaped for the games. And he is, quote unquote, volunteered for the Quarter Quell. So it's the 50th year of the games. And as a result of this, normally they would have 24 tributes. Because this is a special 50th Quarter Quell, they have double the number of tributes. There will be 48 people in Hamish's games. So this younger Hamish, he's an important part of his family. He helps his mom run her laundry business. He's helping mentor his younger brother, who is smart and fun and just a really bright light. He is familiar with the woods around his home. He's in District 12, which, if you're looking at the quote unquote map of Panem, District 12 is kind of, we'll call West Virginia, kind of the Appalachian part of North America. So Hamish is familiar with the woods. He basically runs moonshine for a woman that has her own still. So he basically is the runner and the donkey. He takes care of the still. He chops the wood. He hauls, grain in and out. He delivers the booze. So that's pretty much his role in District 12. He is good friends with Bailey and Burdock, who Burdock, of course, we know is Katniss's father. Katniss, who is the main character in the Hunger Games series. We know her father was very important to her, taught her how to hunt, taught her many of the skills that really contribute to her being a victor in the Hunger Games. But we don't really know his story at all, other than he died when she was 12 years old, or 11 years old. So we learn about her father, which is kind of nice, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But so he's good friends. He's close to his friends. He's popular. He's very popular amongst people in District 12. He has a girlfriend by the name of Lador Dove, who is Covey, which that will mean something once you read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which means that she is musical, she is artistic, she is a free spirit. It's an important link, again, between this book and the previous book. And also, Covey is an important piece when it comes to President Snow. We learn about his connection. President Snow has a very intimate connection with District 12. And you don't know that while you're, reading the Hunger Games trilogy. You learn that when you read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and that's part of the reason that I'm going to say he just straight up he holds a grudge against District 12 for sure. Um, yeah, so that's kind of where we are. Basically, this book is about Haymitch's games, and we learn why Haymitch is this broken, sad wreck of a human by the time we get to know him in the Hunger Games. So there you go. The thing about this story is that you know full well that this story is not going to have a happy ending. You know Haymitch's story in the Hunger Games, and so you know going in that he loses big time in this story. And it's not until you really get into the story and you understand just what he lost and why he is the way he is, you're like, okay, this makes a lot of sense in terms of who he is in the games. Okay, so we have we're doing this in terms of 5 questions. So, and do we want to go all 5 questions, or do we want to do your serve style?
Let's do your serve style.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to start, and I have 5 questions for you, Ann Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And did you write your answers down?
I didn't write my answers down, but I did write your questions down. So
Okay,
I'm
good.
also, so if you want to like just put our faces up, because I have your questions for you.
I'm going to do that because I wrote my note. I wrote notes. I got to find my
Yeah.
notes. Give me 2
Mm-hmm.
seconds here. No, yes, no, and that's the wrong one. That's the right one. Okay, Ann Brothers, I'm going to start for you. All right. Question number 1 for you, Ann Brothers, was what was your favorite aspect of this book?
Well, I think what I really enjoyed about this book is that when of course, I read the Hunger Game trilogy first. Those 3 books came out first, and Hamish does not make a good impression. He seems not to care. He's like, he's got this job. He doesn't seem to care. He seems to be more interested in getting if not being drunk, getting more drunk. He, Katniss and Peeta, neither one of them think much of him. None of the district does. The district doesn't know this man anymore. I mean, District 12, he was, we don't know how fundamental he was to District 12 as a young man, as a teenager, but 23 years later, 24 years later, he means nothing to this district. And it seems as though they mean nothing to him. And it was very, there's more to him, but you can't imagine what he's been through. And so my overall impression of this book was it made an unlikable character extremely likable, and extremely you could really sympathize with him. You realize how strong he is. Even the broken version of him as an adult is so strong. And it really made me appreciate this character a great deal. And I'm glad that I got my mind changed. So that was my overall impression of the book, was that I learned a lot about this character, and I'm glad. If somebody had asked me which character that the next book should be about, I would have not have picked Hamish. So it was a great story. It really humanized him, and I don't want to say made him likable. That's usually not necessarily to me.
Still not
that
likable.
But what I did was it made it really brought him to the surface, and I really appreciated that. And it reminded me of what a good writer this woman is, and that she has so much more story to tell. So,
agreed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm. So, Jenny, right back at you. What is your overall impression of this book?
I thought it was the strongest of the series, and for lots of reasons. I thought there were some really beautiful things that she did, like that last, say, I don't know, 20 pages of the book, where she basically entwines the last part of the story, where he loses Lenore Dove. Spoiler alert.
Mm-hmm.
And well, yeah, he loses Lenore Dove, and she intertwines that with the poem "The Raven," which I thought, it's a poem I like anyway.
Right.
And I thought, that poem is all over this book, and I love the way she intertwines it. So you get story, you get poem, you get story, you get poem, and it really is, God, it's really freaking beautiful. And I did both. I read this and then I also listened to the book of
Mhm.
it, and it's very well read. The kid that reads it is the one that plays Jimmy in um, crap, I can't think of it. What's the story? The Kevin Costner one, Yellowstone. And
Uh,
Jefferson, what's his name, is the kid who reads it, and he does a great job. I thought his reading of it was good, and I especially liked his reading of that at the end. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was interesting in this book. This one had the most to say about, I think, propaganda
mhm,
and how easily an important propaganda is if you uh, it's interesting to live in this time where media is so deeply manipulated, especially in the world of AI that we live in. And we see that happening in the Capitol. We see the games presented are very different than the games as they actually happen. And I
mhm,
thought she had a lot to say about the use of propaganda and how easily the few can be convinced to be ruled, or the many can be convinced to be ruled by the few. And that's what we're living right now, and I think that's really interesting because she does such a great job of setting that up in this story. We see that all throughout the Hunger Games trilogy, and for whatever reason it seemed to hit the hardest in this book than it did
mhm,
others, and I think it's because we see how his story is manipulated, and we see what he is trying to do in the games, and how those games are never presented, how his, when we look at the newcomers and what they had established and what they built in these games, and how that is just blown to pieces once the capital game makers get a hold of the footage and completely manipulate it and
mhm,
tell a completely different story. So I would say that was what I thought of this book. I love this book even more when you pair it with Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes,
mhm.
because that's the story of Snow. We know him now, and so seeing what he does to Haymitch in this book, you're like, oh yeah, that tracks because he
Yeah,
sucks that much.
yeah, yeah. He's
Yeah.
it's what 40 years later, and he's still
Hmm.
pissed off.
He's
So
still pissed. Yeah, it's
mhm,
crazy. So all right. So Anne, let's go to your next question. You have said that there's a character in this book who is you. I'd like to know who that character is and why this character is you.
all right. So 4 children are reaped from each district, or chosen, quote unquote, through a lottery from each district. And this time, one of the characters, her name was Maisley Donner, and she actually was a friend of Katniss's mother. We learn that in the Hunger Game book. We learn that, and actually the pin that Katniss wears, this was Maisley's pin. And the reason why I thought she was me is because Hamish described her as the meanest girl in town, and she loves jewelry. And I was like, that was me. I was the meanest girl when I was in high school, and I love jewelry. And I can still be. I can still, and she has moments in this book where she lays it on. She doesn't. She's like, she doesn't care, who she tells the truth to, and man, it is brutal. And it's like she can take a punch and she can give a punch. And I loved this woman. And it turns out she has this huge heart, and she was just, a really, she wasn't a pushover in a place where everybody just gets pushed around. And I felt bad for her because here she was a town girl, which means she had a little bit better than kids in the seam. So the kids in the seam, their parents worked in the mines, and the town kids, their parents owned businesses in town. So they're a
And
little bit
her
better off. They're still
Yeah,
part of
her
the
family
remake.
owned the candy store. Yeah.
Yeah, her family owned the candy store. She was a twin, and it was and her mom used to dress them alike so that they were cute, and she hated that. She hated it so much, and I felt, this is like one of the examples of, and this happens a number of times in the book, in all the books, where you have children who will never live up to their potential because it's impossible for them to do that. There's a very narrow place for them to be in their district, and it's either that's your place or nothing. There's no choice. And and I think part of the reason why Maisie was pissed off is because she was so unhappy. Everybody was like, oh, she's a town kid. She gets enough to eat, she gets to wear pretty clothes, she has jewelry, what's she bitching about? And she was bitching because this is not what she wanted. She never asked for this. This is not what she wanted. She would have been a great stylist. If she was in the Capitol, she would have ruled. So it was
Yeah.
just seeing her. The truth is, she never got to be who she really was until she was in the games. And then she got to show how smart she was, how clever she was, how she could manipulate things, how she could help people. And she would have never gotten it. In District 12, she would have always been a bitch. She would have always been that bitch who had a nice twin. And it wasn't until she got to the games that she got to be who she really was. And it's a pity, not just a pity, but tragic that, she dies. Spoiler, she dies. There's only one winner. And all of that potential is wasted. It's just so wasted. And that's the other thing about this totalitarian governments is that you waste so much potential trying to keep everybody down. And she was just one more example of waste because
Which is ironic too, because Snow didn't feel like he was being wasteful with these games. He felt
Right.
like he was actually saving lives by having games, because otherwise there would be another war and that would be
Mhm.
wasteful. And that's what that whole idea with, no capital, no peace, no games, no
Right.
peace. It was that sort of mentality.
Mhm.
He got trapped into that because of his own deprivations when he
Right.
was young.
When he was young. So it was just,
Yeah.
I appreciated somebody with, I appreciated this character. And none of the characters are portrayed as victims. That's another thing that she does a very good job with them. None of them curl up and die. They fight. Everybody in that ring, in that game, fights with what they have. And so that was, so that's what I was Maisley. I'm Maisley. So I was just
Okay.
like, yep, I'm mean. And I will tell you what I think. And she loves jewelry. I've been making jewelry since I was in 3rd grade. So I 100%,
Accurate.
I 100%, I was like, yeah, girl, I love jewelry. I love other people's jewelry. I love my own jewelry. So there you go. Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
In fact, Jenny hardly ever wears jewelry, but the one piece she usually wears is a piece that I got for her because it's fucking
Correct.
amazing.
It is.
So there you go. So I can even get jewelry for people who don't like jewelry.
So accurate.
So anyways, that's who it is, Maisley Donner. So if you want to see me when I was 16, I was that girl. So
Mm,
pissed off, and willing to tell you about it. So Jenny, did anything
Yes.
about this book surprise you?
The character of Maisie Donner surprised
Mhm.
me. Because early in the story they describe her as being stuck up, they describe her as being mean, they describe her, and that as you get to know her in the games, the layers just get peeled back and back and back. From the second she provokes Drusilla, their
Mhm.
stylist, and gets smacked, and then just smacks her right the fuck back, you're like, oh my goodness. And again, I felt like she was the backbone of the story. I know
Mhm.
it's Haymitch's story, but she is the backbone that I think, yes, Lenore Dove is, the promise that Haymitch made to Lenore Dove, but
Mhm.
motivates him to a certain degree. But I also think Maisie Lee's lessons motivate him as much as Lenore's.
Mhm.
They become essentially, brother and sister in the book. When they're in the arena together, they essentially become brother and sister. And it really is, other than Lenore Dove, the most powerful relationship that he has in his life is her.
Mhm.
It ends up being her. And that was really surprising to me. I did not expect that connection between he and this character, because that they have a connection. You learn that in Catching Fire in the second
Mhm.
Hunger Games book, but you don't understand really how strong it is,
Right.
and what she delivers to him in terms of lessons along the way. So yeah, really loved that character.
Mhm.
Was really surprised about that. Yeah, and again, like I said, was surprised because, like I said, I think she's the backbone of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, she's my favorite character. So I'm gonna go ahead and just answer question 3 right now. She's my favorite character in the book. And again, that what you said earlier about the fact that even though she had things in her life, that the idea that when you are wasting your potential, it really can. It's like this itch you can never scratch, and
Mhm.
it comes to how you manifest that. It manifests itself in lots of different ways, and for her, it manifested itself as anger.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So
All right, Jenny. So we've seen
all right,
how the oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna give you this one.
Okay.
Okay, this is question 3. This is for you.
Mhm.
Do you think this will be the final book in the Hunger Games? And if it does continue, how would you like to see it continue? Which character and which way would you like to see it go?
Oh, Jenny Brothers. Oh. Uh, I hope it is not the last book in the Hunger Games, because what I think she's doing is at the end of Mockingjay, Peeta and Katniss start a memory book of people that have died during the process of independence, basically becoming independent.
Mm.
And I think that's what this is. I think every new novel that she writes about this is the memory book, and so there's so many people to remember. I hope this isn't the last book, because you know who I really want to get to know is Snow's cousin, and he had,
Oh, God, what is her name?
oh gosh, I cannot remember. Tigress.
Um, Tigress. Yes, yes.
Uh-huh. She's a couple years older than he is, and she ends up becoming a stylist, which is in a very important position in Pan Am, and then falls from grace. And I want to know her story so badly. Ends up in Mockingjay, ends up helping Katniss and the Resistance in a very unusual way. And so
Mm.
oh God, I want to know this woman's story so badly. You meet her in the Ballad of Snakes and Songbirds, and then you know where she ends up as an older woman. And you're like, I want to know the story in between so badly. So, Susan, if Collins, if you need the next book, so have it about tigers, please.
There you go.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that would be a good one. I
Oh,
I
they're
that
so
would be a
cute.
really good one.
Mhm.
Yeah, because she's such a pivotal character, and though her and Snow are cousins, he's basically a sister to her, and really just a guiding force in his
Mhm.
life, and
Mhm.
is just this incredible support system to him. And
Yeah.
you wonder, I'm like, what happened that he would treat you so terribly, other than the fact that he sucks. So
Yeah, well, and then he didn't kill her, because his MO is
no,
when he felt betrayed by somebody, he just killed you. And he probably felt, he did this to her, but he didn't kill her. So that, I mean, he killed the love of his life, but he didn't kill Tigress. So
right.
that tells, oh, what the heck?
What was that?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know what it was. It said I got a call. That's weird, Jenny Brothers. I'm sorry.
That is weird.
I don't know where you went. There you are. Jenny or Duncan, are you calling somebody?
Oh, my dad called.
Oh, because something happened on the, I don't, it doesn't matter. Anyway, we're back.
Well, the good news is that nothing changed on the screen, so it was just you going, "What the actual fuck's happening?"
Oh, it was because I lost you for a second. I was like, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Jenny, I can't see you.
Oh, I bet it was like a video call or something.
Yeah, it was. It was a video call. I'm like, who in the hell is video calling me? I don't know how to do this. Mash keypad,
Oh,
Anyway,
Grandma Ann, make the thingy do.
exactly. Ah, kitty.
That's funny.
Alrighty. Anyway, so yeah, I'm hoping it's not the last one, and I hope she does a book on Tigress next, because Tigress next, because I really want to learn her story. So Jenny, we have seen the
Okay.
Hunger Games have evolved from 10 years to 75 years. So we've seen this vast in these 5 books. Can you describe the change? What was the change like between year 10 and year 75?
Well, okay, first let's describe the Hunger Games as we get them in the first books. We get the Hunger Games. Katniss, her sister actually gets reaped, and Katniss ends up volunteering for her younger sister Prim, who's in her very first games. Everybody feels like Prim is going to be safe because she has her name in the lottery one time. The older you get, the more times your name goes in. Blah blah blah. So the chances of Katniss's sister, getting reaped are really small. So once Katniss gets reaped, we see all this spectacle. They're whisked away on this super fancy train, and they just, Suzanne Collins goes into great detail about the fantastic food that they receive, and these beautiful accommodations on this beautiful train, and everything is deluxe. It is so nice. they are literally treated like kings until they are sent to their deaths, essentially. They stay in these lavish quarters. They have stylists who basically make them look their very best. They have elaborate costumes, and they're dressed in the finest clothes and given the finest food and the most luxurious accommodations for the entire time that they are in the games. They are paraded around. They are interviewed. They are, literally everything is lavish and hugely expensive, and people bet on them, and they get sponsors, and everybody is in the Capitol is super involved. It's mandatory watching for the entire districts. It's literally all anybody does and talks about and thinks about for like weeks until the games end. And so that's our initial paradigm of the Hunger Games. And then when the book, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, takes us to year 10. So this is the upcoming is the 10th Hunger Games. And what we learn is at the beginning of the Hunger Games, it was wildly different. The Hunger Games were nothing more than punishment. They would reap the 10 tribute, or they would reap the tributes. They would throw them in a cattle car. They would dump them in a zoo, pretty much starve them until the games start. They are simply there for the ideas of brutality. Look, we have a viewer that's with us. Hi, Logan Mackenzie Frost. We have a quick viewer says, I haven't read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes or watched the film, but from Mockingjay, I think that Tigris is an interesting character. So if Sunrise on the Reaping is the last book in the Hunger Games world, I hope it's not. So that's it. But thanks for Logan. Thanks for jumping in, man. Great to hear from you.
Thank
So
you.
I appreciate that.
Me
We
too.
love your insights. Anytime you want to jump in. Okay, so you don't think that Tigress is an interesting character? That's interesting. I think she is, but I think sometimes it's perspective.
Mhm.
I honestly didn't think Snow would be particularly interesting, but Anne, you said it earlier. I think Collins is showing some really good writing chops, and I wasn't super convinced. I didn't love the third book of the series. I didn't love Mockingjay, so I thought, give or take. But once I read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I actually went back and read the entire Hunger Games series again, and really felt like I had missed some things in terms of Suzanne Collins' writing. So good for you. So that's awesome. You should definitely read some of the other books. I think they're an interesting story. I think they go hand in hand on kind of the things that we are dealing with today. And I just think in terms of dystopian worlds, and I do like a good dystopian story. I think she's created an interesting world for sure. And you're definitely curious about how we got there. So anyway, just to go back to what you're saying in terms of year 10, the brutality of the games and the fact that nobody is interested in the games. Like in year 10, nobody's watching the games. Nobody is talking about the games. The games are this terrible thing that happens. Even the people of the Capitol are not super interested. And so what we meet Dr. Gall, who's essentially in charge of the games, is looking for ways to get people engaged and interested. And so we are seeing some things in this games that are different. Like all of a sudden, it's actually, Snow's character who proposes gambling on the tributes, and that gets people interested. So now all of a sudden people have a stake in the game. Once money becomes involved, people start paying more attention. Snow he ends up with, Lucy Gray Baird as his tribute, who's very talented, though not somebody you would choose that you would think would win the games, but she sort of wins people over with her talent. And as a result of that, you see another layer of these games start to unfold. And so that book establishes that Dr. Gall wants to see these games be something more than just brutality by making them spectacle and making them interesting, that you can get people to buy into why we have these games. So not only are we going to remind people that these games are about control, but we're going to make it entertaining for you at the same time. And so we don't see that in year 10 like we do in year 75, and that you realize that these games have changed and evolved over the years. And we see the evolution in that in this story, Sunrise on the Reaping. We see these games evolve 40 years later. They're still not as lavish as they are in year 74, but you can see how all of these changes have taken place and that they're becoming the spectacle that we'll see later. So there you go.
Very good. Excellent, Jenny Brothers.
So, yeah. All right. Anne, your next question. Give me 1 second here. There it is. Doot, doot. All right. So when it comes to Haymitch in the original series, what are your thoughts on how he managed or didn't manage Katniss? So here we are. We learn about him. We know he's gone through this terrible thing with his games and after his games. What are your thoughts on how he manages Katniss?
Um, you get the idea that Katniss doesn't really like him. She thinks that he's uh, drunk and he has no good ideas, and that she doesn't need to be told how to do things. And if she doesn't know how to react properly, it's not because it's her fault, it's everybody else's fault, especially Hamish. He does not, he treats her like a grown-up. He treats her like he would treat other grown-ups in his life, which is harsh. He is very straightforward and very very honest and very harsh, and it's exactly the way to treat Katniss. She would not respond well to coddling or cutesiness. She has been supporting her family since she was 12, and she's now 16, and all the baggage that goes along with that, and she's fiercely independent and fiercely narrow-minded when it comes to it's her and her family, and everybody else can go to hell. And I think Hamish does a better job than I realized. I'll have to go back and read the last 3 books now, of getting her to do the things that he wants her to do, basically by tricking her into thinking, fuck you. You told me not to do that, so I'm going to, or you told me to do that, I'm going to do something else. So he's very good at bringing out her anger, and she works best when she has a problem to solve. And so what he does is that instead of giving her the answers, he makes her figure out how to solve the problem, which is hard, especially for like adults when they're talking to kids. You just want to give them the answer. I'm giving you good advice. You should follow my advice, instead of saying, figuring out how they need to solve their own problems. And I think he does he does a good job with that. He's very good at making her figure it out. And though I don't think she likes him, she does respect him. And she knows, and this is what becomes a problem for them in later books, is that she trusts him, and she feels, betrayed by him more than once. But she does, a few people she trusts, and he ends up being one of them because of how straightforward he is with her.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. So I think he did about as good as, for somebody who's as broken as he was, and how somebody as focused and narrow as she was, they did a pretty good job together. So, yeah.
I brought down the Capitol, so yeah, pretty good.
Exactly. I was like, it worked. So Jenny, how have your feelings about Hamish changed since finishing this book?
Well, you definitely feel for him in ways that you don't feel for him at all during the original series. He's kind of an enigma in the original series. His presence is important, but you don't really understand how important it is. I feel like he mismanages Katniss after the games initially. He knows the Capitol is angry with her. He knows Snow is angry with her, and I don't feel like he did enough to make her understand just how much trouble she was in. Early in, like, it talks about it in Catching Fire that she basically she gets back to the districts and basically ignores Peeta, choosing to hang out with Gale instead. And I feel like he didn't do enough to really make her understand how much trouble she was in and what this could mean for her. He does eventually. He helps her understand that once they go on the tour, and but by then I feel like it might have been too late, that maybe he could have helped her understand sooner. I don't know if that does her any good. I just feel like in that respect, he mismanages it. Now, once she gets reaped again, all bets are off. He played it exactly the way he had to play it at that point, because he was right that they could not tell her, what was coming, because if he does, Katniss, if anything, cannot be controlled.
It can't. She's a terrible actor. She's a terrible liar.
Yeah.
Terrible actor.
terrible actor, terrible liar. I'm like, yeah, you can't. So I get the way, that's,
Mhm,
but prior to that, I feel like he mismanaged, helping her through that. But other than that, I really, you, you realize how fucked he is pretty much from the get go when
mhm,
you, in this story, Sunrise on the Reaping, and you start to understand, um, that you said it earlier, you realize just how strong he is because he had to keep himself. He made a promise to Lenore Dove and he kept it. And the fact that he kept himself alive just barely in
mhm,
order to do that is a testament to the
mhm.
fact that how determined he was to A, continue on, and B, break every relationship he ever had in order to keep them alive. And that
Yeah.
to me was the hardest thing to do, is the fact that all of these people that loved him and cared for him, and he cut them all out because he knew what, loving them would mean. He
Mhm,
says that at the end of the story. He's like, I can't love anybody ever again. And you're like,
mhm.
ooh,
Yeah.
that hurts. Yeah. And that's what he
And I
does. And so he basically drinks
mhm,
himself away in order to keep people from being with him.
mhm.
Yeah.
I like your argument about mismanaging her after the reaping, but he had never had any experience with managing somebody he'd never had any experience managing a victor.
No.
He'd
No, and
only
that's,
Mhm.
yeah.
So, and I
So
imagine after, it's like he just no, he didn't because he never had to. The only person he ever had to manage was himself, and he kind of did a terrible job of managing himself. So,
he did in the
Mhm.
end.
Yeah.
So, all right. Do
Anyway,
I have any more questions for you?
I don't
I do.
know.
Last question, Ann Brothers. Here it is. You've said that you think both Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and Sunrise on the Reaping are better than the original series.
Mhm.
Why do you think that is, and what do you think she was able to capture in these stories that she didn't in the original series?
Um, Katniss Everdeen is a very narrow character. She has very small goals, and that is to keep herself and her family alive, and everything else can go to hell. She has no big picture. She's not a big picture person. She's a teenager. Uh, um, she feels betrayed and she's super stressed out. Her life is hard. The only time she's happy is when she's out in the woods hunting. And she has a lot of pressure on her. And that's not always a great story. She can't, she doesn't allow other people in. She doesn't necessarily care. She doesn't, even the people that she loves most, she doesn't really care how they feel. She doesn't care how her mother feels. She doesn't care how her sister feels. She only cares that they are safe and have enough to eat. And like I said, that's not always the most interesting part of it. I mean, the story got much better when she volunteered for the reaping, and when PETA got involved. PETA was a much more interesting character
For
than
sure.
Katniss. So you have 3 books, and what's carrying the story is the story. Katniss pisses you off all the time because she's so fucking stupid about, I was like, Jesus, girl, no wonder she's so hard to manage after because she's so fucking stupid. It's like, stop, look, see, it's like,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
it's it's interesting because she creates the world of Panem, and the games are the interesting thing. That's the thing. It's like the story
Mhm.
around. I mean, it's so funny because my favorite part of the series, the first 2 books, is the food.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Is
like,
the
I really,
food, and Cinna is probably my
Mhm,
favorite character,
mhm,
and his motivations and all the motivations of this world around her
mhm.
is really the best part of the story. You
Yeah.
know, she is, of course, our guide through, but really it's everything around her and all the other characters around her that really keep you interested, I think.
No, I
Yeah,
agree
I'll totally buy
100%.
that.
Is that and I like story that has good characters, and I don't think Katniss is the most compelling character. Now, these other 2 books, the prequels, was not interested in reading a book about the villain of the antagonist, this horrible human being. But damn, if I didn't think that wasn't an amazing story. Snow's backstory is amazing. And then she did the
Unexpected,
same.
really
Yeah,
great.
totally unexpected. I just
Mhm.
woof. I was like, and I can see why people don't want to read it because I'm like, I don't want to like somebody like him. And it's not like you like Snow, but you understand him so much better after the
And you
first
do
book.
find yourself rooting for him.
You do.
You
You do.
do. It's like
And
it's like Walter White in Breaking Bad. You find
yeah,
yourself rooting for him too.
yeah, exactly. So I'm like, and then the same thing with Hamish. I'm like, I didn't particularly think Hamish was going to be interesting, but damn, if I didn't find him way more fascinating than Katniss.
Mm.
So yeah, I just thought I just think that they're much better books. I just think she's able to answer so many questions. She's able to create this bigger picture of
She's
this
building a
world,
really
a
she's building
really
a really interesting world.
interesting world.
Yeah.
And you know, when
Yeah.
we read the first 3 books, we're reading the end. We're reading the ending in 3 books. And you know what's better than the ending? The beginning and the
The
rest of the book.
beginning.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like the ending is the least interesting part.
Unless you're talking about the Star Wars trilogy, but that's another story. Okay. Another story for another time.
Another
Hey,
story for another
let's
time.
so
Oh
we are
man.
at an hour, so
Mhm.
talk real quick about this. Real quick. So the Hunger Games series by Suzanne Collins, and they should be read in this order: Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Mockingjay, then The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then Sunrise on the Reaping. Even though you get the origin story, this is the order you should read them in, right there.
Mhm.
Read the
Yeah.
trilogy first, then come back and read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, then read Sunrise on the Reaping, and you'll yeah, it's a good order. Now,
Mhm.
my friend Kelsey says, according to her, she says that Suzanne Collins' other series, which is the Underland Chronicles, is better than the Hunger Games series. I don't know. I haven't read that one yet. It sounds a lot like Game of Thrones, but what do I know? You know,
I might try one book. Why not? Why not?
why not? Honest to God, I do love the Game of Thrones series, so
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
still digging through those books though, because damn George R. R. Martin, and I'm disappointed that George R. R. Martin has said he's not going to finish the series. So
Yeah.
he's
Well,
not
I'm
going
going
to
to
do
make
it.
it something better anyway. So.
Exactly. Well, and I don't blame him. He's 100 years old and he's got more money than God. He's got no motivation to write that last book. So
Like,
I'm like,
I'm tired
I
of
don't
this
blame you,
place.
dude. He's like, I'm tired. I'm done. I'm like, I get it, man.
Yep.
Good on you. You gave us a lot of great stuff to read and watch for a long time, so I'm good with that. Thanks.
Mhm.
So anyway, so if you're interested in other stuff by Suzanne Collins, you can read that stuff too. And since we're at an hour, let's close this baby down. Well
Yeah.
done, everybody. You have survived an hour of Anne and Janice Brothers talking about books. All right, what do we
Mhm.
got? Amber French, don't tempt me with a good time. Oh, I know, right? Yeah, I know you'll read them, Amber. I know you will.
Exactly. Thanks, Amber.
That's right. That's the spirit. Yeah, so yeah, it's you guys survived us. We're talking about books, which if you've ever watched the series The Good Place, then you'll know that some people that's gonna be their hell. Just sit around making them read
Read,
books.
making them read books. Big, thick books.
That's right. That's right. So thanks for spending
Oh.
an hour with us where you learned things about stuff. Today you learned all about the book Sunrise on the Reaping, which is the latest installment from Suzanne Collins in the Hunger Games series. Let's see. We have Logan with us still. He said, my favorite book is Ranked, Catching Fire, Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping, and Mockingjay, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Yeah, I would agree. Catching Fire, in terms of the series, Catching Fire is the best of the 3 book series for sure.
Mhm.
So yeah. And yeah, there you go. So good stuff, man. Good.
Mhm.
Thanks for hanging with us, Amber, Logan. For everybody else that's been watching, we appreciate you. We want to hear from you. We love it when you guys come in and talk to us during the show. We love hearing from you. So yeah, we love hearing from you. Give us your questions, concerns, comments, and
Confessions.
confessions. That's
Mhm.
right. We want to hear the good stuff. So yeah, we have good news and bad news. The bad news is we will not be with you next week. Remember, but you can still support us by listening to us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. We have a library chocked full of
Mhm.
shows over the last few years with all kinds of stuff, with interesting people, places, things, and stuff. So we are going to be on a little hiatus for a couple weeks. Anne's going to go run off to some foreign land. I am going to stay here and do other things. So that's right. We will be back in 2 weeks. We're taking a 2-week break. We will be back May the 4th. That's right. May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. We will talk about Cinco de Mayo, Star Wars, the Kentucky Derby, the Run for the Trees, and Scotland. So
All
there you
kinds
go.
of stuff in only an hour.
In only an hour. That's right.
Ish.
We will have much to talk about. It will be fantastic.
Mhm.
So yeah. Let's do this. Let's
Okay.
play that music. That's the music I'm talking about. That's right, you guys. Thanks for joining us today. We will be back in 2 weeks to talk about all kinds of stuff. So in the meantime, get out there, do something smart, do something dumb, do something fun. We are out of here.
Bye.